everyone. The members of this group consist of Dr. Khalid Ara, Ms. Sarah Munoz, and myself, Dr. Corina Salinas. We will be presenting a case study titled Executive Leadership and the Corporatization of Higher Education. So there are two levels of bureaucracy in higher education, one being externally from regulatory policies from government and other accreditors, and two, internally in each university's process for addressing these regulations and additional rules. As the role expands and evolves, we have to consider which qualities are essential. How can presidential candidates show they can make tough decisions to the satisfaction of key constituents on campus as well as in the community? And how can this individual be the forefront of a multi-dollar institution as well as looking out for the best interests of its faculty as well as its students? For this case study, it addressed the different viewpoints of a university presidential search committee and as to what characteristics were important in the presidential candidate for them. It discussed whether a university president should be one with a more business and strong leadership background, or should they possess more of an academic background. The university in this case study was named Price University, and they were in need of a new president as the current one was resigning a year early due to health concerns. The current vice president, Mr. John Kramer, was serving as their interim president until a new president was found. The search committee was divided into two groups. One group was more bureaucratically inclined, as the other group believed on a more collegial approach. The bureaucratic group consisted of the search committee chair of the Board of Regents, Mr. Frank Harrison. Mr. Harrison was taking a close involvement on this presidential search, and he believed that the new president should be one that was more of an executive leader with strong business experience. He himself did not feel it was important that a new president be someone with a career in academia. Another committee member, Mr. Gary Keegan, who was an executive assistant to the president, sided with Mr. Harrison. He too believed that the new president should be one with business experience as opposed to a strong academic experience. On the other side, on the collegial group, we had Dr. Mary Glazer. She was a strong believer that the new president should be one with a strong academic background. She was heavily involved in research and believed a president with a strong academic background would better understand the research mission that Price University was geared towards. She felt that if a non-academic president was chosen, it could have an impact on the importance of research in this university. Many faculty members were also inclined to favor a more academic president, but they felt as if their voice did not matter. Many chose not to get involved in the search as they felt their opinion would not be taken into consideration. So, the major dilemma presented in this case study was whether bureaucracy or whether academia was more important in a future leadership president for Rice University. And now I will pass it on to Dr. Khalid Ada. Thank you.
Thank you, Corina. Well, this leads me to one of the main questions raised at this stage level, which is what is gained with a corporate approach to higher education management? In summary, a corporate approach to higher education management can result in many factors. So one, increased efficiency and financial stability, generating new sources of revenue through partnerships with businesses, grants and contracts, better strategic planning, which can help to stay competitive and make data-driven decisions that can benefit students and other stakeholders, increased competitiveness, being better positioned to compete in a market-driven education landscape, which can lead to better outcomes for students and improve accountability, holding more accountable for the outcomes such as student success and employability, which can drive improvements in these areas. However, it's important to balance these benefits with the traditional values and missions of higher education, such as academic freedom, intellectual pursuit, and the commitment to the public good. Within this scope, we have several internal and external pressures. So for the external ones, we are referring to competition for students and funding. Universities are under pressure to attract and retain students in a competitive market, which often leads to focus on branding and marketing, declining state funding. So as government funding for higher education decreases, universities are increasingly relying on corporate partnerships, sponsorships, and other forms of the private funding. We have also pressure to increase revenue and efficiency. So universities are looking for ways to increase revenue and reduce costs. So leading to a focus on cost-cutting measures and revenue-generating initiatives. When it comes to the external pressures, we find the changing job market, since the rise of the gig economy and other changes in the job market have increased demand for more specialized job-specific skills and training. Also, we find the growth of online education that has put pressure on traditional universities to compete in the online space, leading to increased focus on technology and innovation. The increasing globalization of higher education and competition among universities for international students, and collaboration that has led to a focus on branding and marketing. We cannot put aside the economic pressures, since the increasing cost of tuition and student loan debt have led to calls for universities to provide more value for money, driving a focus on efficiency and cost effectiveness. And within all this scope, we have what structural changes may a new president make to solidify a base of support for new initiatives. So we may find reevaluating the mission and vision of the university to ensure that it aligns with the new initiatives and reflects the changing needs for the students, faculty, and community, restructuring academic department to better support interdisciplinary research and collaboration, or to align resources with the university's new initiatives, building partnerships with businesses, government agencies, and other organizations to provide additional resources and support for the new initiatives, improving communication with stakeholders, empowering staff and faculty by providing them with the resources and support they need to effectively carry out the new initiatives, revising policies and procedures to ensure that they are aligned with the new initiatives, and to remove any obstacles to their implementation, as we've seen in many of our content regarding different organizations. So within all these, in order for the president's work to be successful, there should be some other factors, like how does loyalty among faculty and staff members, which impacts the success of the new president. So basically, by embracing objectivity and distance, university presidents can help to ensure that policies and decisions are based on merits and objective criteria rather than political considerations. This helps to enhance the credibility and effectiveness of the institutions and to build trust among its stakeholders.
In the case of Prize University's search for a new president, there are two main frameworks that are playing out seemingly at odds with each other: the collegium and the bureaucracy. The part of the search committee angling for a more collegial method of leadership is led by Dr. Glazer, while Board of Regents Chair Mr. Frank Harrison believes a more traditional bureaucratic leader would be more effective. In comparing these two frameworks, the first concept to consider is power structure and decision making. In Dr. Glazer's vision of a collegium, power would be more evenly distributed among faculty and staff, meaning before any decision is made, the president would have to gather input from those he serves. With a more traditional bureaucratic candidate, The power would be concentrated at the top, and the Board of Regents would continue to be able to steer the university in whatever direction it deemed best. The second competency is communication. In a collegium, communication is likely to be informal and frequent. The expectation would be all important decisions would be open for discussion. In a bureaucracy, the communication would be formal and infrequent, with the information powerhouse sitting at the top of the structure. The third competency is innovation. A candidate who is more accessible and personable with faculty and staff is more likely to foster innovation, experimentation, and collaboration. Because bureaucracies are mostly tried and true, they would help offer stability and consistency, allowing people to continue doing what they do. The fourth competency is accountability. Due to the nature of bureaucracies being compartmentalized and hierarchical, accountability relies on rules, regulations, and standard operating procedures. When something goes wrong, a policy could be cited to address what rule was broken and what consequences will be enforced. In a collegium, accountability may be more of a gray area and rely more on informal negotiations or procedures. In the case of Prize University, it is important to take into account what it's known for, its research. But its fiduciary troubles cannot be ignored. As a faculty member and prolific researcher, Dr. Glaser values a leader who understands her plight and also regards the input of fellow colleagues as important. Chair Harrison, however, understands that though this might be appealing to faculty, ultimately research is not work the new president would be doing and can easily be handled by the provost or other vice president. And so he questions whether collegial networking is an applicable quality they should even seek out. So now we have a clash of values and a disconnect with what the role of the new university president should be. In an article by Cole Clark entitled Pathways to the University Presidency, Cole examines the evolution of the college presidency, which begins in the 1800s with a faculty member at the helm. Then it was important for the president to be seen as an everyman, accessible and grounded with classes and the same responsibilities as other faculty members. From 1900 to 1944, the president evolved into an administrator. As Rather B. Hayes, a member of the Ohio State University Board, described, a man of business training, a man of affairs, and a great administrator. From 1945 to 1975, with the influx of available monies after World War II, the ideal president was seen as a builder, a person in charge who could both grow and expand the physical campus as well as academic offerings. From 1976 to 2008, when monies and enrollments began to slow, the president needed was an accountant, someone able to tighten budgets and work with financial constraints to keep the university afloat and moving forward. After the collapse of the financial market in 2008, a new kind of president was now in demand, the multidisciplinarian. A president, jack of all trades, able to understand and navigate through important challenges, such as growing inequality among students and institutions, technology changing the world of learning and work, and fiscal constraints. With the added issues of a recent pandemic, external and internal accountability and transparency, and the need to find ways to remain relevant in a changing world, it would seem both Dr. Glaser and Chair Harrison are oversimplifying what may be needed. Regardless, let's continue to follow the example of their case. An important complication is the confliction of priorities when it comes to qualifications. Dr. Glaser believes it is important the candidate be a full professor, have an impeccable teaching record, and stellar scholarship. In order to have achieved this, the candidate would have had to have spent their entire career in academia. On the other hand, Chair Harrison is looking for a candidate with extensive and proven managerial and administrative expertise. A candidate with a proven record of fiscal responsibility is also important. Just like Dr. Glaser's candidate, his preferred candidate would have had to have spent his entire career in business. To hope for a candidate who brings all of this is unrealistic. Unfortunately, something that was really telling was Dr. Glazer's inability to negotiate with her fellow search committee members who were bureaucracy-driven. Also problematic was, despite ample effort, she was unable to rally support from her fellow faculty and staff colleagues when the time came for them to get involved. Unfortunately, this does not fare well in an argument for a collegium where involvement and participation in faculty admin governance would be crucial. Not to mention all the time and energy Dr. Glazer spent trying to rally support, whereas in a bureaucracy, the president will only have to discuss things with the Board of Regents. To give a visual of what this might look like, I have a can of mixed nuts. In a bureaucracy, the president would have to discuss important matters with the Board of Regents, so I will put 6 nuts into the cup. If the entire university were to become a collegium, as Dr. Glazer envisions, the president would have to hold discussions with a variety of stakeholders. There would be faculty, staff, departments A through Z, the tech team, committees LMNOP, and before you know it, you've got more nuts trying to make a decision than time left in your corporeal life. Understanding the difference between a collegium and a bureaucracy with all their underlying dynamics can help explain why Dr. Glazer and Chairman Harrison were at odds and why the search committee was split. In summary, there are a variety of variables and factors that go into the selection of a university president. While our knee-jerk reaction may be to move toward what we are most comfortable with, it is important to consider the larger picture and the needs of the university as a whole. I believe, personally, we are at another crossroads in Cole Clark's pathways to the presidency. At a time when the future of higher education is again under assault with the threats of financial ruin and the loss of academic freedom, we've come to the point where we need more than a disciplinarian. What that will be, time will soon tell. Thank you.